Hey, I'm Alex Yaros. This is my new horror story. Hope you enjoy it. Subscribe, like, and let me know what you think in the comments.
The funeral was short, small, cold. Daniel hadn't expected anything different. His father had alienated most people by the end. Friends, family, even neighbors. The man who once filled rooms with his voice had spent his final years silent, locked inside a quiet house at the edge of town, drinking more than talking. Daniel stood beside the grave in a suit that didn't quite fit, his mother on the other side, her face unreadable beneath a thin veil. They didn't speak during the ride back. The house smelt the same: coffee, dust, and something old. It hadn't changed since Daniel moved out 15 years ago. Same curtains, same faded wallpaper, same worn carpet with the burn mark near the fireplace. His mother made tea. He said he didn't want any. They sat in separate rooms. That night, after she went to bed, Daniel wandered the house in silence. He ended up in his father's old study: dark wood furniture, piles of books with cracked spines, and the antique answering machine that had sat on the desk for decades. It was an absurd relic in a world of smartphones and cloud storage, but his father had refused to get rid of it. Daniel pressed the play button, more out of habit than curiosity. A single message played, static first, then his father's voice. "Daniel," it rasped. Daniel froze. His father's voice, unmistakable, low and gravelly, exactly as he remembered. "Don't trust her. She's not your mother." The machine clicked. Message deleted. Daniel stared at the blinking light. No other messages. No caller ID. No timestamp. He pressed play again. Nothing. He checked the phone line, opened the machine, replayed the memory in his head. The voice was his father's, not a recording he remembered, not a joke. He didn't sleep. The next morning, the message was back. Same blinking light, same static. But this time, the voice was clearer, slower. "Daniel, don't believe her. She lied about everything, about him." The click deleted. Daniel sat there for an hour staring at the machine. His mother knocked gently on the door. "Breakfast," she said. "I'm not hungry." "You should eat." He didn't respond. After a moment, she left. He checked the machine again. Nothing. He began to wonder if the grief was making him hear things. Later that afternoon, he brought it up, gently. "Did Dad ever record anything on the answering machine?" His mother didn't look up from her tea. "No. I mean, like messages to himself or anything weird?" She stirred her cup slowly. "Why are you asking?" "No reason. Just remembered something from last night." She paused. "You shouldn't play around with that thing. It's old, probably broken." Right. But her tone was too careful. That night, he rewound the tape manually. There was only one message, but it wasn't from the day before. It was new. "I saw it again," the voice said. "In the mirror. It wore her face, but it wasn't her. She's not your mother, Daniel. Don't listen to her. Don't let her in." Daniel recoiled. He unplugged the machine, took out the tape, left it on the desk. The power flickered, and the machine blinked back to life. Daniel didn't sleep that night. He lay on the couch in the living room with the unplugged answering machine across from him on the desk. Still it blinked. The tiny red light pulsed softly, as if mocking him. At some point near dawn, he stood, walked over, and pressed the button again. The tape rewound with a soft whir. His father's voice came through the static. "She knows what I did. She forgave me, but not you. She'll never forgive you. That's why she's lying." Daniel hit stop. What did that even mean? Forgive what? He hadn't done anything. He'd barely spoken to either of his parents in the last 5 years. He stood staring at the machine until the sun rose behind the curtains. At breakfast, his mother said nothing about the machine. She was already dressed, already moving about the kitchen with that mechanical grace she always carried. Precise, quiet, efficient. Daniel watched her pour tea. "Did I have a brother?" She froze, for just a moment. Then she turned slowly, a small frown forming. "What kind of question is that?" "I found a photo upstairs. 3 of us. You, Dad, and a little boy." Her voice lowered. "That was your cousin, from my side. He died young, car crash." He held her gaze. "What was his name?" She blinked once. "Peter."
That name felt wrong. It didn't echo in his mind the way true memories did. It just sat there, unattached, unbelievable. She went back to her tea. That afternoon, Daniel searched the attic. Most of it was filled with old blankets, furniture, and yellowed books. But in a dusty trunk near the far corner, he found a bundle of cassette tapes, each carefully labeled with dates and years. Some went back as far as 1992. He picked one at random, August 1998, slipped it into a dusty tape recorder he'd found beside the trunk. The first voice he heard was his father's, clearer than it had ever sounded through the answering machine. "She keeps watching the basement door," the voice said, "like she knows it's still there." Then silence. Then, "I buried it, but she remembers." Daniel sat back. His hands were cold. He rewound the tape and listened again, twice. There was no explanation, no context, only those words. His father sounded exhausted, broken. He checked 3 more tapes. 2 were empty. One had distant humming, the same low tone repeating over and over. At the end of the last tape, there was something else, barely audible. A child's voice. "I saw you," it said. "You were there too."
That night, he kept the phone line unplugged. But at exactly 2:03 a.m., the machine turned itself on. No cord, no signal, but it played anyway. His father's voice. "She's coming down the hallway now. Don't look at her. Don't let her speak. If she speaks, she's in." Daniel stood up, frozen. Footsteps. From upstairs. No, they came from behind him. He turned. The hallway leading to the bedrooms was dark, too dark, and there was something standing in it. A figure, silent, still. It didn't move, but the machine did. It clicked again and played something new. "She's not who you remember. That's how she hides. She wears the face of the one you miss most. The figure stepped into the light, and it was his mother. But something was off. Her smile came too slow. Her eyes didn't blink. She said nothing, then turned and walked back down the hallway. Daniel didn't follow. The next morning, she acted as if nothing had happened. "Sleep okay?" she asked over tea. "Fine," he lied. "You look pale." "Probably the weather." She smiled again, and this time it looked almost real.
Almost. Daniel didn't speak to her for the rest of the day. They passed each other in the halls like actors in a play neither of them wanted to perform. She prepared food he didn't touch. He stayed out late, walking the streets, smoking for the first time in 5 years, just to feel something sharp and real against the numbness crawling under his skin. When he came home that night, the lights in the house were off, but the answering machine's red eye blinked in the dark like a warning. He turned it away from him. In the morning, he found the basement door open. That alone was enough to make his chest tighten. His father had always kept it locked, even after Daniel was grown, even after the family stopped using the space for storage. The door was always sealed with a thick iron key that hung in the kitchen. Now it stood ajar, and no key was in sight. Daniel descended slowly, holding his breath with each creak of the old wooden steps. The basement was colder than he remembered, more cramped. There were boxes piled in awkward towers, covered in sheets of plastic. A single bulb flickered overhead, making the shadows lurch. In the far corner, he saw something new. Or rather, something he'd never noticed before. An outline in the stone wall. A rectangle. A door. Not a wooden one, but a hidden panel. Like a section of the wall had once been sealed up hastily with concrete and now cracked slightly around the edges. He ran his hand along the stone. It wasn't smooth like the rest of the basement walls. It felt uneven, rushed, broken. He stepped back. The answering machine played, even from 2 floors above. He heard it through the vents. "She buried it," the voice said. "She swore she'd never open it again." Later that day, he confronted her in the kitchen. "What's in the basement?" She didn't respond at first, just stirred sugar into her tea slowly, deliberately. Then, without looking up, "Dust. There's a sealed wall." Then it's sealed for a reason. "Why did Dad say you buried something there?" She looked at him now. Something flickered behind her eyes. Not fear. Something colder. Disgust, maybe. Or recognition. "Your father lost his mind before the end," she said softly. "He heard voices, thought the house was whispering to him." Daniel leaned in. "Is that why you won't answer me? Because I'll start hearing them too?" Her hand trembled slightly as she set down her cup. "You were always a sensitive child, Daniel. That's why we protected you, why we kept things quiet after what happened." "What happened?" "You got better. I don't remember being sick." "You don't remember much, do you?" She left the room. Daniel returned to the basement that evening with a hammer and flashlight. The panel didn't take long to break open. The stone crumbled with each strike, the gaps growing wider. Dust filled the air, dry and ancient. After 15 minutes, he uncovered a small wooden door, rotted and soft to the touch. He pulled it open. Behind it was a tiny, windowless room. He stepped inside. It was a child's bedroom. Crib, chair, toys.
A lamp shaped like a crescent moon, everything covered in dust, still and silent as a tomb. On the wall, drawn in thick crayon, were letters, faded but still legible. Danny plus James. He didn't breathe. He couldn't. James. The name echoed in his head like a dropped stone. He backed out slowly and stumbled up the stairs. The answering machine blinked. He pressed play. A new voice. A child's voice. "You're not supposed to be here." Daniel stared at the speaker. "Who are you?" "I was your brother." The message ended. The next day, Daniel didn't leave the house. He sat in the living room with the machine unplugged, the tapes scattered around him like broken clocks. The name echoed in his skull. James. He hadn't heard it before. At least, not that he could remember. But the moment the voice on the machine said it, something clicked. Not a memory exactly, more like a feeling. Like waking up in a room you recognize but can't name. He searched the attic again, not for answers, but for evidence, something to prove he wasn't losing his mind. Among boxes of tax records and books wrapped in garbage bags, he found a photo album he didn't remember. Leather-bound, dusty, no title, just tucked beneath a stack of broken toys. He opened it. The first page was blank. The second held a photo, a black-and-white portrait of his parents when they were young. Third page, his mother holding a baby. The baby wasn't Daniel. He was too small in the photo, maybe just a few weeks old. No labels, no dates, just her expression. Not joyful, not proud, tired, almost scared. He turned the page and gasped. There, standing in the yard of the old house, were two boys. One was clearly him, aged maybe 4 or 5. The other was almost identical. Same face, same height, but not quite. The difference was subtle. Darker eyes, a more serious expression, arms crossed. A boy he didn't know, but one who looked like he belonged. There was a note under the photo, written in his father's messy hand. Danny and James, summer, 96. Daniel's fingers trembled. He flipped through the rest of the album. Pages were missing, the middle torn out, only ragged stubs left behind. Near the back, the remaining sheets were blank, until the very last page, where something had been taped sloppily into the corner. A child's drawing. Stick figures, one tall, 2 small. One of the small ones had been scribbled out in violent red. The crayon lines had cut through the paper, angry, relentless. That night, Daniel brought the album to the kitchen table. His mother was washing dishes. "Why didn't you tell me I had a brother?" She didn't turn around. "Because you didn't." He slid the album onto the counter beside her. She looked down. Her hands stopped moving. "I found his room." "You didn't find anything." "I found it drawing with his name on it. A photo. 2 boys. We looked the same. Same shirt, same haircut." She dried her hands slowly and turned. "Do you remember him?" "No." "Exactly." "What does that mean?" She hesitated. For a moment, it seemed like she might actually tell him the truth, but her voice was carefully flat when she finally spoke. Your father was afraid of him. He thought James wasn't right. He said he saw things, heard voices, whispered to shadows. He said the boy wasn't ours. He tried to get rid of him."
Daniel's voice dropped. "Get rid of him? How?"
"I don't know. One day he was just gone, and we all agreed to forget. Even you. I was a kid. You were relieved."
The words felt like a crack in the foundation beneath him.
"So he was real? I'm saying he's dead. And the messages?" She smiled. "Ghosts don't use tape." Her face had changed. The lines around her mouth were deeper now. Her eyes, blank, calm, terrifying in their certainty. That night, Daniel plugged the answering machine back in. He waited. At 3:03 a.m., the light blinked. He pressed play. His father's voice emerged, strained, barely holding together. "He's still here. You didn't forget him. That's how he got back in. He's speaking through me now." Daniel whispered, "James?" The voice responded, not with warmth, but with amusement, tinged with something darker. "He's not a memory. He's a mirror, and you're starting to look just like him." After that night, Daniel stopped trusting anything. His thoughts no longer felt like his own. His reflection was wrong, off by degrees, a blink that came too late, a smile that didn't reach his eyes, movements that felt copied instead of lived. He tried to call someone, a friend, anyone, but when he picked up the phone, there was only static. Then, a voice. Not his father's, not James's, his own. "I'm not supposed to be here." The line went dead. He found himself checking the mirror every few hours. At first, it was instinct. Then, it became obsession. Watching his reflection for inconsistencies, the timing of his breath, the way his head tilted. He knew it was crazy, and yet, sometimes, the mirror blinked first. He dug deeper into the house. In the crawl space behind the basement wall, he found an old VCR locked in a metal box. Along with it, a single labeled tape. Real Truth, 1996. He carried it upstairs and hooked it into the ancient TV in the study. The machine whirred to life. Static. Then an image. His mother sat in a chair, rocking a baby. Her expression was unreadable, not loving, not cruel. Blank. His father's voice from behind the camera whispered, "Which one is this?" She looked up. "I don't know anymore." Then, abruptly, the screen went black. But the audio kept playing. A scream. A child's voice. "I didn't mean to do it." More static. Then silence. Daniel sat frozen. He rewound it and played again. The same. He stared at the blank screen until it turned blue from idling. That night, the answering machine clicked on by itself again. The voice was faint at first, a child's whisper. "Only one of us was supposed to stay." Then came his father's voice, desperate, furious. I told her to choose. I told her we couldn't raise both. It wasn't human, Daniel. It wasn't you. Then again, the child's whisper, "But I am now." Daniel backed away from the machine, the voice still echoing in his head. "Memory can't save you anymore. I made a new one." In the hallway mirror, he saw himself staring back. But the reflection didn't move, and it was smiling.
Daniel stumbled back from the mirror, heart hammering. His breath caught in his throat as the version of himself inside the glass tilted its head, ever so slightly, and raised one hand in a slow, almost mocking wave. The real Daniel didn't move. Couldn't. His body was paralyzed by the terror of seeing something so wrong, so fundamentally broken, wearing his own face like a mask. Then the lights flickered. A familiar sound echoed from the other room, the answering machine clicking on, even though he had ripped the tape out hours ago. He rushed to the living room. The machine sat on the table, screen blank, but it was still playing. A low, warbling hiss at first, then a voice. Not his father's, not the child's. It was his own voice again, hollow and strained as if recorded from a great distance. "I'm sorry, James," it said. "I didn't know. I didn't remember." Then came the reply, soft and brittle, from the voice he now recognized as James. "But I did, and I came back for what was mine." Daniel unplugged the machine, but it didn't stop. The lights in the room dimmed again. The air grew colder. Upstairs, a door creaked open on its own. A soft patter of footsteps, too light to be his mother's, too real to be imagined. He grabbed the flashlight and the VCR tape labeled "Real Truth, 1996, and ran up to the second floor. The hallway was darker than before, even with the flashlight. At the end, the bedroom door stood open. Not his, not the guest room, but the one that had always been locked. The one he'd never thought to question, until now. He stepped inside. The room was perfectly preserved. Toys arranged nicely, books on the shelf, a bed with striped sheets and a small worn bear sitting on the pillow. On the wall, faded letters spelled out, "James." It wasn't dusty, it wasn't abandoned, it had been lived in, maintained. Someone had kept this space intact all these years. But who?
From the closet came the sound of breathing. Daniel approached, each step slow and deliberate. He reached for the handle, hesitated, then pulled it open. Empty, except for a mirror. It leaned against the back wall, tall, freestanding, and familiar. In the mirror stood James, older now, maybe 10 or 11, pale, expressionless, wearing the same shirt Daniel had seen himself in as a child. They looked nearly identical. James spoke without moving his lips. "You're not the original." Daniel tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. "You were made to forget. I wasn't. She chose you." He turned to leave, but the mirror wouldn't let him. His feet rooted to the floor, as if the room itself refused to release him. The reflection continued. "Now she'll have to choose again." Downstairs, the phone rang. Once. Twice. Daniel broke free and ran to the kitchen. The landline blinked. An incoming call. The answering machine clicked on by itself. A voice, calm and warm, filled the room. His mother's voice. "If you're hearing this, it means I failed. I thought I could keep you safe. I thought I could bury the truth in silence and shadow. But he remembers. He always did. I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm so, so sorry." Beep. Then static. Daniel stood frozen, fists clenched, listening as the sound faded into flat nothingness. The lights went out. From the closet came the sound of breathing. Daniel approached, each step slow and deliberate. He reached for the handle, hesitated, then pulled it open. Empty. Except for a mirror. It leaned against the back wall, tall, freestanding, familiar. In its surface stood James, older now, maybe 10 or 11, pale, expressionless, wearing the same shirt Daniel had seen himself in as a child. They looked nearly identical. James spoke without moving his lips. "You're not the original." Daniel tried to respond, but the words caught in his throat. "You were made to forget. I wasn't. She chose you." Daniel turned to leave, but the mirror wouldn't let him. His feet rooted to the floor, as if the room itself refused to release him. The reflection continued. Now she'll have to choose again. Downstairs, the phone rang. Once. Twice. Daniel broke free and ran to the kitchen. The landline blinked. An incoming call. The answering machine clicked on by itself. A voice filled the room. Calm. Familiar. His mother. "If you're hearing this, it means I failed. I thought I could keep you safe. I thought I could bury the truth in silence and shadow. But he remembers. He always did. I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm so, so sorry." Beep. Then static. Daniel stood frozen, fists clenched, listening as the sound faded into flat, empty nothing. The lights went out. When they came back on, he was alone in the kitchen. The answering machine was gone. So was the phone. So was the house. Now he stood in a dark, formless space. Just him, the mirror, and the voice. "You never had a choice," James whispered. "I just wanted to be remembered." And then silence. Everything faded.